let me pull up. Dane gave me a couple exact questions just so I don't miss any of the ones he was going to ask on top of what I was going to. What's the mindset that you bring into each presentation? Like what are you going into each presentation focused on and thinking about?
I always start them thinking like that I'm helping them get the best thing for their family. Because that Cutco really is the best thing for it. And I also always stay in the beginning of mine, like I feel it as my more of a guide to you, helping you find the best thing that's going to be for your family. And I believe that's the Siggy. I don't tell them that in the beginning.
So best thing for the family. Brooke, what about you? Where do you fall on that? What are you focused on going into each presentation?
If you just witnessed that, I completely burned my tongue on my coffee, but I focus on having fun. And I think everybody, if they're taking time out of their day to sit down with you, they should at least try to have as much fun as they can. So talking to them, laughing with them, and then obviously sell them the signature set. And they'll have a blast.
Okay, so we heard a little bit of overlap in the signature set. There's obviously some strong conviction. I'm going to go to Hannah. Where does the conviction in you saying and that they buy a Siggy, like where do you think that comes from for you?
What do you mean?
Where does that such strong conviction of this person should buy a Siggy set come from? Why do you believe that?
Well, I feel like everyone thinks like the basic set is like the perfect one, but it's been around since 1949 and everybody always ends up wanting to add on like the cheese knife, hearty slicer, and getting those steak knives. So why not just get it all right away and then it's cheaper?
Brooke, what about you?
Well, I have a couple different things on why the signature is great for everybody. So you're getting like almost double the knives that you do in that Wusthof set. You're getting it at a discounted price. You're basically getting free knives in that set for the price you're paying. And a lot of people around here are farmers or have big hands, and everybody loves a good steak knife. Everybody wants steak knives, table knives. Nobody wants to hold the little pencil at the table. Everybody likes steak knives. Everybody loves the cheese knife. The signature is the way to go.
Okay, write down. Nobody likes using pencils for dinner.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so some strong conviction in the signature set and the steak knives obviously help with that. Hannah, how do you close? Like what close do you do? Is it just a normal close or 3-set close? Like what does that look like when you get to the close?
I do the 3-set close. So I talk a little bit about them, just kind of touch on them. And I kind of touch on the complete set, do a couple pieces, but say like I'll explain more if you're more interested in it. Talk about the signature set, and then just say go to the basic set for a little bit, saying like this is that basic set I was talking about. And then I go, do you see yourself more as just as basic? Are we thinking more like are you a complete person, or maybe somewhere in the middle with that family set?
Okay. Brooke, what about you? That's good.
I do that a little bit differently. So what I do is I show all the pieces in the basic set. Then I say, okay, so this is that basic set that we just looked at. So that has all those basic pieces. This next set is the most popular. So this is our family set. You're getting more knives, all the more popular knives. I show them where the carving fork is. Everything to the left is basic. Show them all those. And then I tell them, I explain the pieces. I don't explain them. I tell them exactly the knives that they're getting extra, emphasize the steak knives. Then I kind of briefly show them the ultimate. I don't explain every single piece. I just show them from the carving fork left, everything else that you're getting, all that extra stuff. And then I say, out of those 3 sets, which one kind of looks the most appealing to you?
Which one looks the most appealing to you? That's the question you end on.
I let them pick the set that they want that looks the most interesting.
What do most people normally pick?
The family, because I emphasize the family.
You call it the family?
I call it the family, and I call it basic. I call it the new basic set. New basic set, family set, most popular set, my favorite set, the set you should get. Yeah.
No wonder they buy it then. Okay.
Yeah.
So the new basic set, family set you should get. And it comes with the steak knives, emphasis on steak knives. And you end with, what was the question that you end with?
So out of these 3 sets that I just showed you, which one kind of looks the most appealing to you? And then if they're kind of having trouble with that, just be like, well, this one is the most popular. The family's thrown this family set. This one is the most popular. I've had the most luck selling this one. I don't sell a lot of the basic set just because a lot of people do kind of lean towards getting the family set because of the pieces in it. And then if they're looking at the ultimate, then you can kind of show them all the knives in the ultimate that they're getting, but don't spend your time going over every single knife in the ultimate.
Yeah, that's a great tip. Hannah, what does it sound like when you get to the end of your 3 set close?
Well, it's more, I like to say, because like I explained, kind of go down the line. I go from the complete to the family and then the basic. And I talk to them, I like to say, what one do you think would be the most fun and the perfect fit for your household?
Okay. So say that again, just in case anyone wants to write it down. What one?
I say, like, when I get to the end, I'm like, so what would you think would be the perfect fit or the most fun for you and your household?
Perfect fit and most fun. Also a great way to ask. Notice both questions pretty laid back and they're not asking them to buy it. Everyone recognize that. At what point, Hannah, I'll stay on you for a second. At what point are you telling them the price of the set that they pick?
Well, we talk about it a little bit and then I say, like, the great thing about it doesn't cost that extra money kind of setting them up. And then, well, first we kind of decide steak or table knives with it. Because I've sold like homemaker with steak knives instead of the table knives. So even on the homemaker, you can still sell steak knives with them. We kind of talk about that. And so then I say, yeah, so this would only be, and I quickly say like it in full. I don't remember the exact price to be honest, but I quickly just say that part in full. But I'm like, honestly, what almost every single customer does is take advantage of that 5-month easy pay option. So you'd only be paying so much a day. And then you get to try out that 15-day trial period with it. Is that something we're wanting to try out at all?
Also, great casual ask. Okay. Is that something you want to try out at all? Brooke, is that kind of the same thing? Or what about when are you bringing up the price or how much they're paying?
So after they kind of say which one's the most popular, which one they're interested in, I'm just like, okay, so with this set today, the total price on that set is, so if it's the homemaker, I'm not the homemaker, if it's the Siggy with steaks, I say, so that set's about $24.13 or $509 today. You're getting a lot more. If they're getting kind of hesitant, you go, you're getting a lot more knives than what you do in the homemaker. You're paying less for getting each knife in the set than you were to get each knife individually. If they're just to kind of explain that price to them, because a lot of them go, that's a little bit much.
Oh, pause right there.
You just kind of have to justify that price.
So when you're selling all these Siggies, people aren't just like, yeah, you know what? Fine, let's do it. That's not how it sounds when you ask for the order.
Well, sometimes it's like that, but I'm kidding.
So you hear objections?
I do. Sometimes a lot of it is, some of the Siggies I do, I give them, I usually do the B block sometimes, but what I do usually is when they're saying, that's kind of a lot of money, like, and I get that, but I have sold more of these than that basic. And a lot of people do that 5-month pay. So it's only $509 today. And you're getting a lot more knives than I just emphasize how many more knives you're getting. And if they're talking about the price being too much, I kind of throw in a little BS and I'm like, you're actually kind of getting close to $500 worth of knives for free in this set.
Okay. So really just slapping the customer perspective the whole time type of deal.
Mm-hmm. I just slap it in their face.
So you just have so much conviction they should buy the signature set. You have no problem being like, you mirror exactly. Yeah, you're right. It is a lot, but you're actually getting $500 of free knives, and it's only $505 today or whatever.
That's how I sold that ultimate yesterday. Said you're actually getting like $800 worth of free knives, if not more.
Tell us about that. So that lady wanted a Siggy, and then she bought an ultimate set. Is that accurate?
Well,
or how did that go?
She started out by going, I only use 3 knives. I'm like, well, your sisters all said that to me. You know who else said that to me? Your sister, your sister-in-law, your twin sister. They all said that, and they all ended up getting a big set. Just like, dang it, now I have to. But so she was looking at the family set, and then she was kind of going, I couldn't quite tell where she was going. She's like, don't worry, I'll get the family set. And then her brother-in-law ended up getting an ultimate set a couple days ago. She's like, wait, can you show me again what set he got? And so I showed her, and then she's like, how much more is that one? And I was like, you know, it's a little bit more, still less than that Wusthof, but you're getting it double, if not triple the knives as that Wusthof set. And you're getting double the knives of the signature set plus 2 extra steak knives.
And then she just went for it.
She's like, yeah, I kind of want to rub it in his face. So I was like, you got to do it. It's the only way. So
what you're all seeing is a little bit of like the social proof aspect of like, well, they bought this, I have to buy this. And if you're thinking in your head and you're like, well, I don't have those examples. Like I haven't sold, you can use other people's examples until you have them.
Yeah,
you can say
sure.
like, we've sold more Siggies than homemakers lately in our division or office or whatever it is. Bring up the social proof of whatever you have. You hear that? She's wanted rubbing in his face. People are like that. Anyone ever hear of keeping up with the Joneses? Like, you know, buying the cool thing because the next person hasn't. The first signature set I sold, it was because he asked me, he's like, what did Brent Shaw buy? And I was like, oh, he bought a homie +8. He's like, okay. He's like, I'll go with the bigger one then. Literally just to like one up his buddy. So don't be afraid to bring up social proof like that. Danny just put a good line in the chat. Curtis, for sure use those. Okay. Hannah, do you feel like there's anything that you say at the beginning of your demo that helps to seed plant for bigger orders or for just people buying Cutco? Do you think there is anything special you say, whether it's seed planting the 5-pay or in how you share your goals? Like, do you think there's anything at the beginning of your presentation you say that helps that's not necessarily in the script?
I definitely emphasis on that 5-pay a bit just because some people can get nervous. And I actually got this from Brooke, calling it the easy pay option when I was watching one of hers, because then it seems a little better. And also calling it auto debit because that can sometimes scare people too, like how it works. And then I do a lot of sharing goals with like wanting to be at the top and with college and everything, trying to pay for stuff. And then I say in the beginning, it's on the script, but I change it a little bit. Like at the end, I'm going to show you our 3 largest sets, the complete for people who love to cook and the family for people who like to cook, which is honestly more popular than what that basic set is, that homemaker for people who just have to cook and just kind of sits in their kitchen. And that kind of plants like, oh, the family might be more interesting.
Yeah, that's good. A little tease at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Auto debit. I've never heard somebody call it that before. That's great. Auto debit, just like reverse layaway. Same as a Netflix bill. That's great. Brooke, anything you feel like at the beginning of your presentation you're saying that might help seed plant for the bigger orders at the end?
Well, a couple of people have asked me for my presentation, but what I do is right at the beginning, I have a little preview. It's like 2 slides. I show a little preview of what I'll be showing them. And on those slides, it has the 3 biggest sets. And so then after I say about the Cutco kitchen and everything, then I start kind of talking about who they know, what the person who referred them got. This is the set that they got. I emphasize the signature set, saying, you know, this is the one that I sell the most of. This is the most popular. So we'll probably take a look at this one a little bit closer later on. This is that big bad boy set. Point to the ultimate, and then this is the basic set. So I haven't sold a lot of those just because the family set is the basic set essentially. So a lot of people gear more towards grabbing that Siggy.
Okay, so it is you do seed plant the Siggy at the beginning.
Yeah, and then I emphasize whoever like they know that purchased the set.
Yeah. Chris just put something great in the chat, everybody. Selling is a transfer of enthusiasm. In one of those good Vector Connect talks that you should listen to while you're in between appointments, I think John Berghoff, he says, people don't buy what you're selling, they buy your belief in what you're selling. And so they're buying your belief that they should buy Cutco the Siggy or the ultimate set more than they're actually buying the signature set themselves. They haven't even touched the knives yet, right?
So, Casey, what I do, so I do a little bit about me. I do the scholarship, then I do the what is Cutco. Then I go into the Cutco kitchen, and then I show 2 slides of the previews of what I'll be showing them, just so they don't know, because nobody likes to go into a demo not knowing what I'll be showing them or like the products that you're offering them. It's just kind of like blindsiding them with, oh, this is what else we have. Like they know that we have pots, pans right at the beginning. They know all this stuff. So do it right after you talk about like all of like the charities and everything.
Right at the beginning. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what about dropping down? So you both obviously have sold a decent amount of homemakers, signature sets, bigger orders, and things like that. What about Hannah? We'll start with you again. What is
Hannah and I were saying yesterday, we don't know how to drop down because we only sell the big sets.
You have any tips?
No, of course we do. Yeah.
Do you have any tips on effectively going from the 3-set close back into like the galley set or lower?
What I always do or like did before was when they're kind of like hesitant about something, always ask sort of like, what are we thinking that's kind of making you hesitant on it? Is it more of the too many pieces, more of the price? What were you kind of thinking? Then they talk themselves down a rabbit hole. And then from what they're talking, you can gauge that off of them. And so from there, you can even offer like the B block for the homemaker if it's the price. If they're just still thinking too many pieces, sometimes they'll be like, that's what my mom thought too. And she ended up upgrading because she needs even more. But if we're not feeling that, we do actually have a perfect set that has just the 3 least used knives out of it for a lot less money. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. That's how I transfer into the gallery.
That's great. One more jab of social proof, not just giving up on the homemaker, not just giving up on the signature set, and then using what was the transition line you said right there to get to the galley?
I say, so there's another one we could look at. It has the 3 least used knives for a lot less money. So let's go ahead and take a look at that.
Let's go ahead and take a look at that. That's great. That is very casual.
It's very good.
I can tell you why these 2 sell so much Cutco already. They're just confident because they've sold a bunch of it. And now they are just assuming people are going to buy it, which is all you really need. Brooke, what about you? I know you sell strictly Siggies and ultimate sets and whatever, but do you have any lines from dropping down like that?
I know I've only sold like 2 homemakers. So it's like, oh, those are the rare ones. Those are the small sets. I'm kidding. I actually recently I sell a lot of galleys and Siggies and ultimates. I don't really sell the homemakers as much, but my thing is a lot of people really like the signature. But if they're you have to listen to people throughout the demo. So when they're saying like, oh, I'm scared of using bigger knives, like I've had a lot of people be like with the machete, the butcher knife, they're like, that is a huge knife. I don't trust myself to use that. That is so large. Or if they're saying like, oh, I don't have a lot of friends. We don't host that much or whatever, or I don't really like the forks as much. So that's typically the things that I hear throughout the demo that you have to kind of internalize. And then when they're rejecting the signature of the homemaker, just be like, okay, completely hear you. I understand. And so I've had a couple people who say that to me, and this is what they end up going with. So right here, this is our galley. You still get some table knives. And then with the galley is we're taking out those 3 bigger knives and the least used fork. So that big, I just explained which ones are being taken out. So if you're nervous about cutting yourself using those bigger knives, this takes out those knives. So these are this is the medium size set. So this is a great starter set. If you wanted to build on later on, we can totally do that. But this one's also really popular. Would you like to go with that one today? Try it out.
Yeah, you know what? I would. I love it. So I think what's great there with what
do you want to buy a galley from me, Alex, now?
Oh, I thought I had one behind me up here at the house. But notice how when she's talking about the signature versus the homemaker, it's like, hey, everybody gets a signature, like this is our most popular set. And she still uses those lines kind of talking about the galley. So like it's not that I almost thought like, oh, it's going to feel like it's such a downgrade because of the belief that Brooke has in the Siggy. I don't think it felt like that at all. So just making sure you have the same enthusiasm about each thing that you're showing, because again, they don't buy what you're showing them. They buy your enthusiasm in it. So if you can act like the galley set is God's gift on earth after they've passed up on the other God's gift on earth, like you can still sell it with the enthusiasm. Still popular. Yeah. All right, great. Brooke, I'm staying on you. Recommendations. Any bonus tips on recommendations would you have?
All right. First of all, if you're having trouble with recommendations and that's your main struggle, don't come watch me. Go watch Hannah or Grayson. They are awesome with recommendations and they get recommendations every single time. Sometimes I have people that just are in the same circle, so I don't always get all those recommendations. But what I do is I kind of plant the seed, just a small seed in my beginning. I'm just like, so I will be asking you later on, like just how blah, blah person recommended you to and said you'd be nice enough to sit down with me. And here we are. Just kind of be thinking throughout the presentation of people that you think that you know would be willing to just sit down with me, take a look. So just kind of be keeping that in mind. If you think of anybody, just blurt it out and I'll write down their name and I'll ask you about them later on. So then at the end, after we close, I say, okay, so before I send you the email with your receipt, this is the most important part. This is how I'm going to get that scholarship. And this is how I can keep selling Cutco. So first walk them through the app, do the app. And then right after they're done answering the questions, make sure they answer all the questions while you're on the call. Otherwise, they will not do it. They will not do it if you don't do it on the call with them. And then after that, just be like, and if they're saying like, hey, I don't know anybody, just be like, okay, pick out one person, pick out two person. Who's your kids' friends' moms? Like, who are these people? Who do you work with? What are just thought joggers?
Okay, so you're seed planting it at the beginning.
Yeah. Who do you know that knows a lot of people?
And then thought joggering them up.
Mm-hmm.
Basically. Okay. And I'm sure walking with the same swagger as when you're asking for the order for sales.
Like, hey, I'm desperate. I don't have any more people to call. You need to give me at least 3.
You actually say that? Is that a joke?
Yeah, I've said that a couple of times. I was like, don't make me start crying. I will literally start crying.
Making a joke out of it.
No, actually, one time I did. I had a tear drop down.
Wow. Okay. Well, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
Use that one. Hannah,
you gotta ham it up.
Some tips on recommendations. I've heard you're great at it from Brooke a minute ago.
Well, I use the app too, and I plant the seed in the beginning too. I actually use a rec approach script that Faith gave me. But basically when you start off, you like say, thank you much for coming down. After this, I'm going to go ahead and like talk about the app to them, sort of give them an update that they're going to be using it. And I always bring up, because some people don't want to download apps on their phones. So the way you can get them is you can start off. So the first part, you're just putting my information in so the company knows I'm actually doing this and I can get credit towards my scholarship and get paid. They kind of can't be over my shoulder the whole time. That normally will get a little laugh out of them. So that's already like, okay, I need to help her get credit. They're already going to download the app. And the second part, talking about, there's just a couple of questions, pretty much rating me on how I did. It is all anonymous. You can be completely honest with it. Sometimes I'll throw a little joke in there. And then I say, I make the recommendation sound really casual, like everyone does it. So be like, and that third part is just those recommendations. Again, just makes it super easy. It's just how like Becky recommended you to me. And I say, I'll talk about it a little later too. Just want to give you a little heads up in case anybody pops up in your mind throughout the demo. Then when I get to the end and we're talking about it going through the app, I would say, I think it's in the other rec approach too. Like here, you're going to want to click like 200 to 300 people and then laugh. But I'm like, 10 to 15 is normal. But Becky actually gave me about 20. And that means I got to write her down as a double sponsor. And once I get to 50, I actually get a scholarship for books and supplies for school, which is awesome. Because as you know, college can be very expensive. And then from there, they're like, oh, okay, she's giving out a bunch. I can do it too. And then I do throw in a couple thought joggers there. And then a couple of jokey ones like, or if you know someone with a yacht or a mansion on Lake Minnetonka. And normally the laugh would be like, oh, I wish. but this person's really good. And then I always bring up a personal goal to meet at least one person in every state, because that's how you can also branch out your recs to become a whole new friend group.
That line that Curtis just put in the chat is so fire. I've actually never heard that before. Instead of saying 10 to 15 would be awesome, 10 to 15 is normal, but blank gave me blank. That's so great. Bringing social proof and normalizing it. People just want to be normal. Like people just want to do what other people are doing, especially in that moment. So whether it's you holding up a notebook and showing 15 every time, or whether it's you telling them that this person all gave 20, like whatever you can do in recommendations to bring that social proof, that is a fire line from Hannah right there.
That's why she's the Queen of Rex.
So last, the Queen of Rex and the Queen of Siggies, we got them both. Last one here, and then maybe a couple bonus questions if anybody sends me any. I put my number in there if you want to ask any specific question, text me it. But Hannah, staying up on you over here, what is one sales tip that's helped you this push?
I'd say making it a conversation. A lot of people don't want to just sit there and be talked to. A lot of times just making it into a conversation, asking them questions, sort of making it more casual. So it's like they don't feel like they're being talked to, but they're being heard and being sort of talked with. I like to think it's like we're just hanging out, talking about some knives. The more comfortable they are with you, the more willing they're going to open up their wallet and pay $2,000 on a set of knives. Because they're going to normally they're going to be buying from you, not necessarily always buying the product.
It's fire. So talk with, not talk at.
Mm-hmm.
Any questions on talking with, like some rapport things or some things that you do during the demo, whether it's certain questions during or anything like that?
Are you asking me?
Yeah, I was asking you, Hannah.
Okay, sorry. I was reading a text from Casey in the chat too. So questions for making it more of a conversation is what you're saying?
Yeah.
So I always start off building the rapport if I don't know them. I always like to talk about, ask them a little bit about what they do, what their family life is like. If they have any fun plans for the summer, if they're doing anything fun, sort of get them talking about themselves, open up. I share a little bit about myself. Then especially when talking about the kitchen stuff, I'm like, so what are you normally doing in your kitchen? What would you say you're sort of looking and interested into? And then I kind of like them to see how they would use every single knife in their kitchen too. So putting that perspective in their head of them using it more likely down the road. But then also just ask some questions and put in those corny jokes, just sort of make it fun. Like Brooke said, they want to have fun. They don't want to just sit there. And so just sort of throwing in some jokes there, talking about it and that sort of thing.
Yeah. Jokes, questions. Brooke, what about you? What's one big sales tip that you have learned or from this push that's helped you a ton?
I have a tip and I have a rule. So the rule is if you don't know their dogs' names or their cats' names and you don't know how old their kids are, you have no business selling this person knives. You have no business asking them to open their wallet and shell out $2,500. Know their dogs' names, know their kids' names, how old they are, and what they like doing. If you don't know that, do not continue with the presentation. You need to know that before you start moving on. You need to get to know that person so you can actually have conversations with that person and joke with them. Also, part of that whole kid thing, knowing how old the kids are. When you're selling the spatula spreader, okay, well, they're at that age where they love making sandwiches. Do they like the crust on their sandwiches? Well, you're coddling them if they like crust on their sandwiches and they're cutting it off. But with this knife, you can cut off the crust on your sandwiches if that's what you like. You know, you need to get to know the person. So that's a rule. That's a rule before you can sell anybody anything. Get to know them, get to know their shoe size, know everything. And then a tip is obviously have as much fun as you can, but just be yourself. So if your personality is to throw in a couple of really straight-laced jokes, what's one? So obviously you have your dad jokes in there with the cheese knife and the spatula spreader and everything. But when they're I don't know, just be yourself, throw some jokes in there, make them laugh, make them enjoy themselves. Yeah, my demos are fun. It's like watching a movie. I know. I'm pretty awesome. Like that. You see that? I'm pretty awesome. You're being straight-laced. You're being dramatic. You're being sarcastic, but you're kind of not kidding. You know what I mean? Like saying that you're awesome, hyping yourself up while you're doing it, just to kind of tell yourself that, yeah, I'm doing a good job. So you're not only comforting them by making them laugh at you, making jokes about how awesome you are, you're actually making yourself feel better by being like, yeah, I am awesome. I can do this.
Affirmations in the demo. Okay, that's great. So whatever fits your personality. For Brooke, she's obviously comfortable in the presentation and she's herself, which is why it works. Whatever. I think sometimes, I remember when we were newer to the virtual thing, this was a mistake I would make. I would spend 10 minutes talking about myself and my own goals. And maybe some people have done that before. They care, but they don't care as much as they care about themselves. So Brooke's point of like, get to know their dog, their cat, their shoe size, their like all of those things. It is so important your customer, when they show up, they feel like it's all about them and not even necessarily all about you, or they're gonna tune you out almost.
And
so I think that's great.
Don't make it feel forced either, because sometimes when we go into building rapport, like when we're just starting, we're like, okay, well, so how many people do you have in your family? How many kids do you have? What are their ages? Like, make it sound natural, like you're having a conversation. The art of small talk is so important. I thought of something while you were talking. What were you saying again? Maybe it'll come back to me. You have to like re-speech yourself so I can remember, because it was really good. I
just was saying that it not necessarily, they don't really want to hear about your goals.
Yeah. Okay. So when you're talking about your goals at the beginning of the demo, some people quoted me yesterday after my demo. They said, okay, I know I'm talking about myself a lot, but I'm pretty awesome. So just let me finish and then we can talk about you. So that's kind of how I do it at the beginning. So I try to keep as much as I can about myself to a minimum, and then we can talk about them. So if you feel like you're talking about yourself a lot, just be like, okay, just hold on. I'm almost done talking about myself. Then we can talk about you.
Yeah.
Just let me brag for a second.
I'm going to give everybody, here's one of my favorite YouTube channels ever. It's not my own. Charisma on Command. Check out some of those videos throughout the day. And it's just short little videos on helping you with conversation. She said the art of small talk, which is good. Last question for each of you. What is your, Brooke, we'll start with you, then we'll go to Hannah, but what is your tip or two on, this is, someone texted me this, I think this is a great applicable question to everybody. What are a couple tools you use to get more pieces on their wish list? Like how do you, when you're dropping down to pieces, how are you turning piece orders into bigger piece orders and not just a trimmer?
So if the set isn't an option, I ask them what pieces that they like. I go to that slide where they have all the different pieces and I'm like, okay, so these are the main pieces that we offer. So you have, all those, there's different sizes of each knife. Like I mentioned, there's like 4 different sizes of the paring knife. So I noticed that you like this knife throughout the demo. When I show the trimmer during the demo, I make a note to say, and if people don't really want a set later on, or they just don't really know what to get, but they want to try something, this is the knife that they go with, because this is the knife you can use for everything. So plant the seed during the demo about the trimmer being the knife that you'll get. So you'll always have at least a sale. So plant the seed on the trimmer slide about the trimmer. When you're at the pieces, sorry, my brain's kind of blanking. At the pieces, ask them what they like. And then if there's a starter set, so know the starter sets, know all those sets. And then if those pieces kind of start to add up into a set, say, hey, we have this set here. Is the block or the storage option something that you're interested in, or is that not something that you want? If they don't want the block and they just want the pieces, say, hey, that's fine. But you'll get a better deal if you can put as many pieces as you like together. So be like, if they have, let's say they have the paring knife, the trimmer, and the spatula spreader on their like list. Say, okay, so here's the thing. Is a lot of people, so I heard, you're throwing things in the crock pot, you throw your roast in the crock pot, whatever. This petite carver, Awesome. So you're going to use that for all your fruits. So if you're ever going to have a random watermelon in your house, that's a knife. So this is a great, just average big knife to have in your house. Everybody gets this one. Add another knife to the cart.
So making suggestions then for Mrs. Jones as well. That's
and
great.
be like, and I can give you one of your other knives for free. So you're actually selling a bigger knife, the bigger carver, and then you get them like the small paring knife for free.
That's great. That's great. And just building the list for them. Hannah, what about you? I know you had, what'd you have yesterday? A piece order that was like $600. Is that accurate? Mm-hmm. So how do you build those?
Well, I take notes throughout my presentation too, like talking about, I do plant the seed with a trimmer as well. Like Brooke said, I'm like, this is probably the most used knife out of the set. Everyone really loves it. And that's what almost everybody wants to start off with if they're not ready for the sets right away. And then I take notes of things like if they comment on something, not if they even like their face expression is like, whoa, during the video, but they don't really say anything. I mark that down. So when they like get down to the piece orders, I also do the smaller sets thing because I was like, hey, let's hear some of the knives you're thinking. And let's see if we can actually get you a set. So you get that safe storage, your free cutting board. And then you're also getting that built-in discount with it. So that's our SC1. I turned a piece order into a starter set instead and added on a knife for there. Otherwise, they kind of get started on a couple knives. And I'm like, yeah, saw like, I'll either do it one of two ways. I'll either start with suggesting like, yeah, I heard you were kind of like interested in this one and this one. What are some other knives you're wanting? Or like, what else are you interested in getting? And they'll start off with, I'm really just thinking these two pieces. I'm like, yeah, definitely. So a lot of people actually will end up pairing this knife with this knife. Otherwise, I know you were kind of interested in like list off the ones. We're trying to get those today too and just try them out. And then they'll like add on. They're like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. Or, oh yeah, let's try that one.
Also with that, just a little thing, little homework that you can do going on the site. So your demos, the demo that you show doesn't show every single little set or every single pack that you can possibly get. So like it doesn't show all the gift sets. It doesn't show all these things. Just a little, go through the site and look at the different sets that we have, because we have a set that's the petite chef, the trimmer, and a paring knife. Mm-hmm. So tell them that if they were to add on the petite chef, which is the staple in every kitchen, be like, if you add that on, we actually have a set that doesn't have a board. It doesn't have that storage option, but you can get all three of those together. And you'll be saving money on each knife. You'll get each knife for a cheaper price than you would getting them all individually.
Yeah, that's a great tip. Make sure you understand what we all have to offer. Because if you build a great rapport at the beginning and know everything about them, and you take notes throughout, like Hannah was saying, when you get to the end, you as the sales expert, it should be pretty obvious what they should get. But it's only obvious if you know what the options are. So I think it's great. Mm-hmm. Brooke is like, you go on the website and look at like, what are we offering here? Because the View Cutco, it doesn't have everything. Why does someone like Brooke sell so much? Well, she's researching on the website. The more you learn, the more you earn. That's Jared Erickson has been listening to YouTube videos on repeat the past week, which is why he's at 20K on how to sell more Cutco. So just always be educating, then it's top of mind. Okay, that is all we have time for. I'm curious, a couple last things really quick. Hannah, do you know how many demos you've done so far this push? Do you have a ballpark, like how many appointments you've done?
That's a really good question.
Do you think it's like 30, 40, 50, 20?
Probably like 40, 45 maybe.
Brooke, do you know how many you've done?
Like 23, maybe. No, not even 23. I think it's like 21.
Cool. So either way, the answer is like, just do more demos. That's always the answer. So last stretch. Thank you, Brooke and Hannah. Let's all give it up. Right? Over 20K already. Pretty wild. Pretty awesome, I should say. It's not wild. It's awesome. So
Grayson's not far behind. Grayson's got about $900 more to go to hit 20K. Big three.
Pretty awesome. So great start to the push. Excited to see how this ends. Excited for everyone to see how it ends. And just know that this last week can be pretty wild for all of you, as long as you have appointments booked. So Nick, our ADVM, Nikki Flash Linedecker, is going to kick us off as far as today's phone jam. Hey, and before Nick does, I got to tell you, the HM30s are waiting for your call. Why do I know this? I'm at home. Guess where my parents are? Right above me. So if you called them, they'd pick up. And there's so many HM40s or 50s, same situation. So Nick, take it away. The legendary Nick Linedecker.
Yeah. All right, everybody.